Today on Sports Central, we cover a college football game preview and prediction on the American Athletic Conference Championship game between the Cincinnati Bearcats and the Houston Cougars. Huge matchup for both these teams going into the conference championship, and a lot is at stake here. For Cincinnati, you got potentially a college football playoff appearance on the line here in this matchup against Houston. Cincinnati, they've got a very strong argument to be in the top four if they can beat Houston here. And the Cougars have had an outstanding season. This is a Houston team that not many people expected to do as well as they have, but this has been a great season for them and a huge opportunity as well. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Cincinnati beat East Carolina 35-13 in their last game. Overall, solid win to finish out the season. And Cincinnati, kind of an interesting second half of the year. The first half of the year, they dominated every single game that they played and played convincingly. But the second half, they did play a few close games to mediocre opponents. That does concern me a little bit. But they controlled East Carolina. And overall, it's been a solid season for Cincinnati, to say the least, being currently ranked number 4. And they've got a very strong chance. They should be in the college football playoff if they win this game. Houston's a good football team, and for Cincinnati, that's another good win to the resume. So, Cincinnati, very good chance to make the college football playoff if they can win here. And on the flip side, you got Houston, beat UConn 45-17, 11-1 with an 11-game winning streak. Lost the first game of the season, but ever since they've won 11 straight. Both teams have got some big winning streaks on the line. And it's a huge game. It's a huge conference championship game. Houston currently ranked number 21 in the nation. Game will be on Saturday, December 4th in Cincinnati, Ohio. So Bearcats do have the home field advantage for this game. And it's kind of interesting. The AAC doesn't have a neutral site location for their conference championship, but to Cincinnati's benefit, they do have the home field advantage for this game. 4 p.m. Eastern time is their kickoff. We got spread Cincinnati 10.5, over/under is 53. So it is expected to be a lower scoring, moderate scoring matchup, especially in both these teams' terms. Both teams have scored an average of 40 points per game just about all season long. So for Houston and Cincinnati, you got two very high-powered offenses, and both defenses have been great all season as well. So be interesting to see what happens here. FPI Cincinnati 82.6% series history. Houston does lead at 15-12 win streak. Cincinnati by 2. So Bearcats do have the last 2 games. Last 5, Cincinnati leads at 3-2. Here's your stat comparison for this game. Both teams are very similar statistically. Definitely something that stands out here. You got 38 points per game on Cincinnati, 39 points per game on Houston. 19 points allowed for Cincinnati, 15 points allowed for Houston. You got 272 passers per game for Cincinnati, 253 for Houston, 150 rush yards for Cincinnati, 176 for Houston. And then for yards allowed, slightly different here. We got Cincinnati, who's a better rushing defense statistically, and Houston, who has a better passing defense with 191 passers allowed for Cincinnati, 97 rush yards allowed. And then for Houston, we got 161 pass yards and then 141 for rushing. So it's very interesting seeing both these teams. You got two teams here that, record-wise, they're 1 win off. Houston lost their first game of the season to Texas Tech. And you have to look back at that game, back in week 1. If Houston would have knocked off Texas Tech, which they should have, they could have, it'd be interesting to see where Houston would be at this current point. If they were undefeated, they'd have the same record as Cincinnati, potentially. Houston, Cincinnati is number 4 in the nation right now. Would Houston potentially be number 5 or number 6? You have to wonder, just looking back at that week 1 game, Houston being undefeated, they'd be in the top 10 as well right now. We'd have a top 10 American Athletic Conference game here if that were to be the case. But obviously, week 1 was a long time ago, and that loss definitely, you could say, has come back to bite a bit for Houston. But recent matchups, Cincinnati beat East Carolina, beat SMU. That was an impressive win, 48-14. Beat South Florida, beat Tulsa, beat Tulane. As for Houston, beat UConn, beat Memphis. They beat Temple, beat South Florida, beat SMU as well by a touchdown. And overall, both teams have been pretty impressive all season long. Both teams have had some quality wins and some closer games that shouldn't have been as close. But bottom line, both teams are very talented. Some key points here. Cincinnati's 12-0. Strong argument to make the college football playoff with a win. Convincing win would be ideal. If you want to secure your spot, beating Houston by, say, 3-4 touchdowns would be the way to do it. But I just don't see that as a likely scenario. They also have the home field advantage. You got to remember that as well. Houston, all the pressure's on Cincinnati here. Houston, they're not going to be going to the college football playoff. They got a good bowl game that potentially is on the line. But, for Houston, all the pressure's on Cincinnati to make it to the college football playoff. For Houston, you don't have much to lose. So it's definitely an interesting mindset here. But stats are extremely similar to Cincinnati's. The only main thing different is your defensive stats, and you also got one win different between both sides here. 1 game difference in the records. Passing game has been tough to stop all season for Houston, so going up against Desmond Ridder, I think Houston is very well matched up to do so. Anyway, that being said, let's get to the prediction here for Cincinnati and Houston. Obviously, huge game for both these teams. I'm going to go Cincinnati 27-24 in a moderate scoring game. I mean, the Bearcats being the home field, or having the home field in this game, I think is going to have a huge difference for them. I mean, playing in front of their home crowd for a chance at the college football playoff doesn't really get much better than that. And I think that they'll have a boost of confidence because of that. And I mean, for Houston, Houston's a very good football team. They've got a legit chance to knock off Cincinnati here. And I really think that's something that really needs to be watched out for. I mean, I think Houston, they definitely cover this game. I'd be surprised if Cincinnati blew them out, especially with what's at stake here. So I do have Houston covering that 10-point spread. But I do think Cincinnati ends up getting the win. It's going to be close, 55% towards Cincinnati. Houston is a talented football team that I think a lot of people are overlooking here. Over-under is 53, taking the under as well. But I'm not too confident in betting that over-under. I'm a little more confident in betting the spread with Houston than I am with the over-under. But that said, let's wrap it up for today. Let me know your thoughts and comments below on this game, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Once again, final score, Cincinnati 27, Houston 24. Thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you later.